What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome to my vlog. And I wanted to do one of those kind of risk assessment type videos again in response to the recent State of the Union address and that kind of thing. I just figured it would be relevant to talk about kind of our political climate and, just how our politics are working, or in some cases not working as of late. I kind of wanted to extrapolate that out and take it to, the places where it could go if we continue the way that we're headed. There's a lot of possibilities, honestly, though. So I'm going to try to just kind of keep this simple, but it also means I'm probably going to go to very extreme lengths. That's part of the point of what I'm doing with these kind of risk assessment videos, is thinking about where this could go, like worst case scenario sort of thing. So first off, the big thing that I really want to emphasize about our political scene these days, and that I want to kind of do the risk assessment of, is just the division within our political, just the division within Congress, really. Because you have the Republican and Democratic parties so at odds with each other that practically anything that one of them wants to do, the other is against just because the one is in favor of it. And it's ridiculous. And it even has some people going to the extent of saying that, okay, take Donald Trump's recent statement, for example, and saying that, the Democrats who were at the State of the Union who didn't stand up and applaud for what he said were, to kind of summarize and put it bluntly, that they were being treasonous. Like they, were against the country as a whole. And first off, that little statement there is totally ridiculous, because there's been all sorts of crap like that going on for probably a couple of decades now, certainly a few years at least, with different political parties not standing up, clapping, or really having any kind of reaction to something that the president or other leader from the other party states, because it's the other party and we can't show that we support them or that we like anything that they say because they're not our party. And it's ridiculous and it's stupid, and all this division is just, it's going to cause somewhere down the line something really extreme to happen that nobody is going to like in the long run. I mean, right now, okay, so let's assume that somebody similar to Donald Trump and his line of thinking within the Republican Party remains president for a while. I feel like if we keep heading down that path, because of the division and things like that, if we're just going to head into some sort of dictatorship type of thing. I mean, Trump already wants to put up some sort of, major military parade display sort of thing, and that just screams authoritarian if I've ever heard it. Okay, I realize a lot of the changes that the Republican Party is trying to make to the laws are actually kind of decentralizing the government and putting it more so on the states, but at the same time, it's also going vastly in favor of their particular party and people that support them. But especially if there's someone in that seat with the attitude and the demeanor that Donald Trump has, then I feel like dictatorship is inevitable. I feel like that could head towards dictatorship, more so just because of the personality style of Donald Trump and people like him, because he seems to think and promote the idea that anybody who has anything negative to say against him is a traitor and should be imprisoned for treason. If we continue to have a president who has that mindset of anything that is even slightly against me is, some sort of traitor and should be, punished, banned, exiled, imprisoned, whatever. That's why I feel like that line would head toward some sort of dictatorship, because it's essentially saying, oh, anything that is against the president is bad, and so everything just needs to go the president's way. So, it's starting to sound a lot like a dictator who has absolute rule and authority. Not that the other extreme would necessarily be much better or different, it's just the way that it would play out would probably be a bit different. Because, let's say Democratic Party takes charge again in a few years, and they're significantly out the helm for a long time. So then, because of this division, they start making all these changes that support only their party and do the things that only their party wants to do. It'll probably give the central government far more control, and honestly also increase the likelihood of some sort of dictatorship, but it'll kind of be more obvious, because we'd probably start heading towards some sort of like socialism or something like that, the government is kind of in charge of spreading the wealth around, and clearly they're not very good at that. But I don't know, I feel like really the big point is, with all this division that's within Congress in particular, that heck, we might even end up with another civil war if this continues, because people are so at odds with each other just because this party wants to do this and refuses to do anything that the other party wants to do, and it's stupid and ridiculous, and it doesn't help anything to be so at odds with each other, or against each other, I guess it would be. But yeah, I feel like if you're talking what worst case scenario could happen, honestly, I don't doubt the possibility of that. If we continue down this path of being at odds, one party against the other, and those are the only two parties that ever have power, really, it's almost like best case scenario is we just kind of keep bouncing back and forth every 4 years or something, or 2, or whatever you want to call it, depending on if you're counting the presidential election terms only or the interim terms as well. But best case scenario probably is that we end up bouncing back and forth between the two parties and their views, their agendas, and we end up fluctuating heavily on how things run. But ultimately, I do feel like if you're talking worst case scenario with all of this, we could end up having another civil war, and that's not something that we want to happen. Especially right now, when we've got a president who's ticking off so many other countries. They're going to want to take advantage of that moment of weakness when we're fighting against each other. And, oh, hey, look, North Korea finally has a nuke. And they decide to launch it at us, and we explode, we're dead. That's the kind of stuff that could happen. I mean, okay, again, that is a major, major stretch. But, I mean, any countries out there that don't like the U.S. right now, which is quite a few, because of the behavior of our president, largely, any countries that don't like us could just say, hey, they're fighting against each other. Let's charge in there and just take them all out. It's a common military strategy, so why wouldn't they do that? But anyway, it's just, again, I hate this. Yes, I don't use the word hate lightly. Other people seem to, and seem to be promoting hate against each other. And that's what that's what I'm saying I hate. I hate the hateful rhetoric, speech, line of thinking that says, if you're not for us, you're obviously against us. We're not discussing things properly. There's no effort to compromise on anything. And it's just going to spin out of control and become more and more extreme until the, swirl of extremism becomes some sort of, like, super amplified tornado, if you're following the, spinning around analogy. Again, there are a whole bunch of ways this could potentially play out, just because of the complicated nature of politics. But there's no way, absolutely no way, that this division and all this hate and animosity is going to help us in the long run. No chance that that's helpful. So, can we please just cool our jets, settle down, and actually talk to each other like reasonable human beings? Because that's not what we're doing right now. Again, point being, the odds are not in our favor if we continue down this path. This division that we have, this fighting against each other, it's not helpful. Period. So anyway, that's going to do it for this time around. As always, like and share if you enjoyed, subscribe to my channel, click the bell, check the notification box while you're there. You should get updates on all my latest YouTube activity. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Those are gonna... You can search the same term for those. That's why I tend to bunch those two together. Instagram is slightly different, but all that information is going to be down in the description, so feel free to read that. Leave comments below with your thoughts on this video, ideas for other videos, and yeah, just anything you want me to know, leave it down below. So I think that's it for me, and different ways to interact with me and my videos and stuff. So I hope you're all doing well, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Stay cool, people.